One of the most heartbreaking moments in Spider-Man Brand New Day has nothing to do with Spider-Man at all. Instead, it revolves around one mysterious phrase that keeps appearing throughout the story. VMAX. For most of the film, both Peter Parker and the audience believe VMAX is some kind of classified experiment, a secret weapon, or perhaps a hidden project inside Damage Control. Jean Grey repeatedly searches for it. She breaks into secure facilities. She risks everything trying to uncover its meaning. Nothing seems more important to her. Only in the final act does the truth emerge. And it completely changes the entire story. The mystery begins whenever Jean briefly loses control of her emotions. Instead of talking about revenge or power, she quietly repeats two things: the name Sara and the words VMAX. Bill Metzger quickly convinces everyone that Jean is simply confused after invading other people's minds. According to him, Sara is nothing more than a random memory she accidentally stole. Peter initially believes that explanation because there is no evidence suggesting otherwise. Later, one small detail changes everything. After Jean possesses MJ earlier in the story, Peter apologizes for what happened while she was under Jean's control. MJ has absolutely no memory of those events. That immediately exposes a contradiction. If MJ cannot remember Jean's actions, then Bill should not have remembered Jean searching his thoughts either. Peter realizes Bill has been lying from the very beginning. Working together with Yelena, Peter uncovers the horrifying truth. Sara was real. She was Jean Grey's younger sister. The story then reveals one of the darkest flashbacks ever shown in a Spider-Man story. Years earlier, after their mother abandoned both girls because they were mutants, Damage Control kidnapped Jean and Sara in broad daylight. Rather than protecting two frightened children, the organization turned them into laboratory experiments. Bill Metzger supervised years of brutal testing designed to push their telepathic abilities far beyond normal human limits. The sisters were treated like weapons instead of children. Every experiment pushed them further. Every failure brought more pain. The purpose was never to help them control their gifts. The goal was to transform their powers into something Damage Control could eventually use for its own benefit. Then tragedy struck. Sara died during one of those experiments. Until that moment, Jean believed her sister's final words were VMAX. She spent years searching for whatever VMAX might be. She convinced herself it had to be the answer to everything. The heartbreaking reality is much simpler. Sara was never saying VMAX. She was trying to say VentMax. The faded label printed on the ventilation system directly above the experimental chair where she died. It was the only clue she could give her sister before taking her final breath. Because the message was interrupted, Jean misunderstood it for years. One missing syllable changed the course of her entire life. Instead of searching for the place where her sister died, she spent years hunting something that never actually existed. That revelation completely redefines Jean's actions throughout the entire story. She was never obsessed with obtaining power. She was searching for closure. Every violent act, every escape, every confrontation, all of it came from one desperate hope that somewhere inside Damage Control, she might finally discover the truth about Sara. The emotional weight of the twist comes from how ordinary the answer really is. There is no secret weapon, no hidden program called VMAX, no grand conspiracy hiding behind the name itself. The real horror lies in the fact that Sara died alone inside an experimental chair, desperately trying to point her sister toward the only evidence she could still see. That makes Bill Metzger's role even more disturbing. He did not simply oversee unethical research. He deliberately manipulated Jean for years by allowing her to continue believing VMAX was something else. Every lie kept her trapped inside the same cycle of grief and anger. When Peter finally learns the truth, he immediately understands something everyone else has missed. Jean is not driven by hatred. She is driven by loss. She has spent her entire life searching for answers that were stolen from her. That understanding becomes the emotional turning point of the story. Instead of trying to destroy Jean, Peter chooses compassion. He recognizes that revenge will never heal the wound left by Sara's death. Only truth and acceptance can begin that process. The reveal also transforms Sara into one of the story's most important characters despite her limited screen time. She never becomes a superhero. She never fights alongside Peter. Yet her death shapes every major decision Jean makes throughout the film. Without Sara, Jean would never have become the frightened, isolated young woman audiences first meet. Without Sara's final message, Peter would never uncover Damage Control's crimes. In many ways, Sara becomes the emotional heart of the entire story. Overall, the VMAX revelation is easily the darkest and most shocking twist in Spider-Man Brand New Day. What first appears to be a mysterious secret project ultimately becomes the heartbreaking final words of a dying child. Sara Grey's death explains Jean's pain, exposes the true cruelty of Bill Metzger and Damage Control, and transforms what looked like a battle against a dangerous mutant into a deeply emotional story about grief, family, and the devastating consequences of treating innocent children as experiments.